Croeso, Fulcher, welcome back to the channel, Old Boy here, and this is the next part of the series where we're investigating Irish mythology. Today we're going to be looking at Breoghan, who features in both Galician and Irish mythology, and how he is said to be the following: the 17th descendant of Goídel and the first person to rule over the tribes of Spain, the person who built the lighthouse that is named the Tower of Hercules, which prior to the 20th century was called Forum Brigantium, the person who founded the city of Brigantia or Brigantia, which is said to have been located in modern-day A Coruña, Galicia, Spain, and the person whom the Brigantes tribe was said to be descended from and named after. In addition to this, I'm also going to look at historical records which show that there were indeed a group of people called the Brigantes who lived in the Celtic regions of Spain, as well as Ireland, Britain, and other parts of Europe. With all that out of the way, let's get into the sources. In the various redactions of the Book of Invasions, we are told Brath, the 16th generation in descent from Goídel, was the first of his kind to reach Spain. Brath and his companions are described as giving battle to the Tuscans or Etruscans, Longobardi or Lombards, and a people known as the Bacra upon their arrival. The text then says Brath had a son named Breoghan, who is sometimes referred to as Bregon or Brigus, and he is credited as founding the city there named Briganza or Brigantia, and built a tower there. From the top of this tower, Breoghan's son Ith was said to have first seen Ireland. The O'Clery redaction tells us the following, quote, "A son was born to Brath afterwards in Spain, Breoghan his name. He was nourished till he was able to bear arms. Brath died after a while and Breoghan takes the princedom after that. There arose strifes and discords, quarrels and disputes between the various races of Spain and the tribe of Goídel, so that many battles and skirmishes were fought between them. However, it was Breoghan with his soldiers and people who were victorious in every battle combat, and theirs was the victory, so that those tribes of Spain were submissive to them at last. Afterwards, a city was founded by Breoghan in Spain, Brigantia its name, and a tower was built by him in front of it, which is called Breoghan's Tower." End quote. John of Forden's Chronicle of the Scottish Nation also tells us a similar account. Quote, "He there afterwards, the natives having been subdued for a while, built by degrees a very strong town, by name Brigantia, in the middle of which he erected a tower of exceeding height, surrounded by a deep ditch, which is still to be seen." End quote. In Geoffrey Keating's History of Ireland, we are given additional information from several other historians. This text says that Brath gave his name to Braganza in Portugal, from which came the Duchy of Braganza. He goes on to say that Brath's son Breoghan was also known as Brigus, and like the other texts, credits him with founding Brigantia and building the tower. Quote, "From Brath, Braganza in Portugal is named, where lies the Duchy of Braganza. Here 4 leaders that came with Brath to Spain on that expedition. After this, Breoghan, son of Brath, was born. It was this Breoghan too who defeated Spain in many battles, and it was he who erected or built Brigantia near Corunna, and the Tower of Breoghan in Corunna itself." End quote. Geoffrey Keating also quotes the Spanish author Florianus del Campo, as well as the Welsh scholar Thomas William. Both authors, writing in the early 16th century, agreed with this notion, writing the Brigantes were the descendants of Breoghan, who first lived in Spain, before heading to Ireland and then Britain. Finally, we also see the same sentiment shared in a text from 1612, called The General History of Spain by Luis de Mierne Tarquet. Quote, "Then they produce Brigus, king or governor of these troops, who began a civil government and built, as they say, many castles in Spain, which carried the marks of his name, all in a manner ending Briga, such as Nemeto Briga and Mito Briga and such like. By reason whereof he carried painted in his standard a castle, although the skill to blaze arms was not then well known. And the authors of the Spanish antiquities say that of him the assemblies of people were called brigies, and afterwards brigues and brigades, which did so multiply under his government and conduct as they were forced to send whole armies out of the country to seek new habitations, and that Castilla, now called Villegia, was in old times termed Brigia, and that the new Spanish tongue hath since turned it into Villegia, calling it Castilla la Villegia instead of Brigia. For my part, I believe that this word Briga, brought into Spain by the Celts, which did hold a great part of that country, for that it is of the language of the old Gauls, by which the word signified people, town or assembly. Moreover, there were many towns in France which had their names derived from it, as the Brigantin upon the Alps, which is called Constance at this present, and Brigantium in Briançon in Dauphine, and the Lato Briges near unto the Swiss, and others whereas the Celts did in old time inhabit. And if there was a king so named, it is very likely he was a Gaul captain of some troop of Celts, in whose time there were great alterations of people, and by consequence ambitious thefts, which was the best exercise the noble men then gave themselves unto. This is what may be spoken of this Brigus." End quote. Okay, so to summarise, the mythology as well as several sources written by historians credit Breoghan with founding the city of Brigantia in Spain, his people taking the name Brigantes. The sources say these Brigantes were first located in Spain before moving to Ireland and then Britain. This is interesting as there are mention in the historical records which corroborate this. In the work called Geography by Ptolemaeus, he mentions a Brigantium which was located in the Alps, as well as a Brigantium belonging to the Gallici in Galicia. He also mentions a Brigantium located near the Rhine, as well as a group of people called Brixante, which is also said to be a name of Celtic origin which could share the same etymological root. Finally, we get mention of the Brigantes in Ireland and also Britain. In addition to this, the Tower of Hercules located in A Coruña prior to the 20th century was known as Farum Brigantium, and certain other place names in Portugal and Galicia are also etymologically derived from the same root as Brigantes or Brigantium. The earliest mention of the tower is in the works of Paulus Sorosius, a Roman priest, historian and student of Augustine of Hippo, writing in the early 400s AD. This text seemingly confirms that the city in which the tower was constructed was indeed called Brigantia. Quote, "There in Galicia is situated the city of Brigantia, which raises its towering lighthouse, one of the most notable structures in the world, looking out towards Britain." End quote. In the literary origin of the name of A Coruña, written by Gonzalo Navaza in 2016, we are also told the various names by which A Coruña has been known over the ages. Quote, "The present name of the town was born in 1208 to replace that of Faro, which in turn had replaced the old one of Brigantium." End quote. Okay, so that's going to conclude this episode for today. We will look at the Tower of Hercules, the Brigantes, as well as the etymology of these place names in more detail in subsequent episodes. If you missed the previous episodes in the series, be sure to check them out here. Thanks for all the continued support, and catch you all on the next one. Old Boy out.